Hello, 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 my Be Health Empowered family. Welcome back to another episode of Excuse Me, Doctor. My name is Dr. Melissa Clark. Always, please feel free to call me Dr. Mel. And we're here doing what we do each and every week, bringing you the health information that you need to make wise health decisions, not just for yourself, but also for your family and for your entire community. And if you are tuning in for the first time, we really, really appreciate you and hope that you hit that like button if you're checking us out on Facebook and that subscribe button if you're checking us out on YouTube. We really appreciate you for that. And then, of course, if you are a longtime Be Health Empowered family member, you know that we cannot do this without my wonderful co-host, Miss Lila Mays, Mr. Wayne Bruce. What is the word for the day? How y'all doing?
What is the word for the day? We lost the compadre. That's the word for the day.
Lost compadre. Searching
what in
for our
the
lost
entire
compadre.
Hey, we can't. Can I cuss? We can't cuss on your show, Dr. Mel.
No, we can't do that.
Because it's about health. Wow.
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm missing. I feel like I'm missing you. Singing to Lila. Where's Lila? I don't know where she is.
Hopefully she will resurface soon. I mean, I know it's been hot outside. Hopefully she hadn't melted, you know.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I hope everybody is keeping safe in this heat. I mean, we're seeing 102, 103 degree temperatures out there. So please, please, please remember to stay hydrated, especially if you're on any kind of medicines for high blood pressure or, quote unquote, water pills that dehydrate you. If you're a coffee drinker, all those things are going to make you dehydrated. So make sure that you are staying well hydrated. Those 2 liters of water. If you're out there working in the heat, you're going to need more. So just stay safe out there because it's that time of year.
I'm sorry to laugh and talk over you, Dr. Mel, but you said water pills, and that so reminded me of my mother and my grandmother. Baby, I gotta take my water pills. And I didn't know as a kid. I didn't know why they would be yelling at everybody, get out the bathroom. I didn't know about that stuff.
Yeah. Right. Because you take them, you got to go. Here is
magically appeared.
When you
I know there's a glitch in the matrix.
She's magic.
Well, we are so happy to have you, Lila. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I don't know. There's a glitch in the matrix over here. So, but I am very happy to be here.
I'm glad you glitched back.
That's what's most important.
That's right. So what is up for this week? What are we getting into today?
So look, all right, let's talk about something we don't nearly talk about or we don't celebrate enough. That's Black men showing love for each other, not in crisis, not in competition, just in connection.
Yes. Yeah. Strong friendships, real conversations, inside jokes, and loyalty that runs deep. Y'all act like y'all just be watching the game, but that's just the surface stuff.
You do
exactly.
You do know.
And this is Men's Health Month. And so that's why we're talking about this really important topic tonight. And research shows that these kinds of friendship bonds can have powerful effects on your health. Strong male friendships for all men, but especially Black men, can really boost mental health, reduce stress, and even help you live longer.
Right. So share this to all the men in your life if you're not a man, and share this to your brothers and cousins and family. Mention something about your friendships. I know I have a lot of friendships and a few close ones, and I've lost a few recently. And so, but today we're just spotlighting the healing power of brotherhood, right? The kind that lifts you up, keeps you grounded, and reminds you who you are, right? Everybody got a funny story about you.
And we're doing it with two amazing friends, both actors who y'all probably will recognize. They're going to make you laugh, think, and maybe even text your homie to say, "Hey, man, I appreciate you," or "Good night," like they're doing on TikTok.
Oh,
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe you call your homie and say good night.
Yeah,
You're right.
I just want to see how you doing. Make sure you were tucked in. What? That's the funniest. That's the funniest.
So we have also an incredible psychologist joining us, who's really going to highlight, the effects of men's love, loyalty, and laughter, and how that translates to health and healing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So y'all remember, write your questions in the chat, share. Because this is going to be an amazing opportunity to talk to these folks once they're done chatting.
Great. Well, we're going to see y'all back in just a little bit. I am going to introduce first these two actors who I know you all are going to recognize. First off, we have Mr. Curtis Cook. He's an actor, writer, and director known for his TV roles on The Chi, Duda, you all might recognize, Netflix House of Cards, Luke Cage, Narcos. He has multiple film credits and stage credits, and he's also a father of 5 and grandfather of 3. And let's go to some of his work.
And my church at risk. You knew that going in. Well, now the price is going up. You know what? Let me just take my money elsewhere. I'm your only option. Says who? Says me. Yeah. A deal is a deal. Do you understand? Understand? Huh.
Wow. Welcome, Curtis.
Thank you. Wow. You know what? I haven't seen that. I didn't see that. I didn't see that shot. I didn't see that scene play out. And dare I say, woo, that guy, he's a something. You said you can't curse on your show, so I ain't gonna say what just popped in my mind. That's why the move came out real quick. But thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
showing me.
We are delighted you are here. And that you are here with one of your longtime friends. And I hope what you did in that scene, you've never done to him. And so our next guest is Marcuis Harris. He is a director and actor known for both his dramatic and comic supporting roles. You've probably seen him on Grey's Anatomy, NCIS, The Good Doctor, HBO's comedy series Vice Principals, and ABC's The Crossing, a show that I absolutely love. And he's soon to be on an upcoming P-Valley episode, so watch for that. And let's see some of his work.
Those are our rules. Listen, we've done everything you've asked of us. And Agent Wren, she assured us that we were on a path to citizenship. Now she's gone and walls are going up. It's not what you think. But this is not a prison. You make promises, but you don't have the power to keep them. You're just another one of their lapdogs. You want to be a good dog? Here. Go fetch.
Wow. Welcome, Marcuis. Thank you so much for being here.
Man, you know, I wouldn't have missed it. You call, I'm here.
Well, we appreciate you both. And, we're going to get right into it because this episode is all about friendship. So we got to start at the beginning. We have to start with, how did you two meet and what makes this friendship special? I'll start with you, Marcuis.
Oh, wow. Wow. you know, if you got friends from the 1900s, then you can really call them friends. And I don't mean people you know and associate with. I'm talking like, yeah. So me and his brother, we met at a show that Curtis wrote, directed, and produced called Trapped. This had to be early 90s, I want to say. Yeah, probably like somewhere in the early 90s. Now, mind you, prior to meeting, we would see each other. You know, in New York, you run into people all the time on the train, at events and readings and plays, whatever. So we had seen each other. We were familiar, I think, with each other. But I officially met him at a performance of one of his plays, and it was the first time when I connected who he was with what he does. And it was not just the work, but he was also there with his family. You know what I mean? Like his lady at the time, the children were there in the midst of all of it. And I was like, we happen to have children around the same age. I'm looking at him going, okay, that's how this can happen. That's how this could work. You know what I mean? It was an example right off the rip.
Right.
You know,
right.
It was a bit of a mirror of my own life. So that was the first time we had officially met. And then just over time, we started hanging a little bit more and a little bit more and talking more and then dreaming together and collaborating a bit. And and then it culminated into us, forming a theater company together, Tupu Crayley Theater Company.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
And so
okay. I did not know that.
we did some really, I think we had 2 solid seasons of original work, and we would solicit work from friends or other writers that we appreciated, and we put up a plethora of really good work with a collaboration of artists and friends that we all had. And one by one, people started pilfering off, right? People were getting noticed and getting called out to LA, the big house. LA, people getting called and people were disappearing. So we started to sort of thin out a bit. But our friendship remained, through it all.
That's a great. That gives me much more understanding. I didn't even realize that you all had worked together so closely. So Curtis, what would you say makes this friendship special? What makes it have survived all these years since the previous century?
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say that everything he just said is a lie. And I don't know this brother. He called me the other day and he told me that he had my children. And if I didn't do this, I would never see my grandchildren again. So I'm here. No. What makes it so
we
special?
know you have your priorities straight. That's good.
What makes it so special? Like, I think it's the acceptance. You know what I mean? Like, I think when we have conversations or when we discuss anything, we may not agree on everything we do, but we accept what the other person is bringing to the table without much judgment. And that's hard to find for me anyway. I'm a loner in nature, so I don't have a lot of friends. But whenever I talk and call, and me and Marcuis talk, it feels as if I'm almost talking to another side of myself. I mean, we are the same, but we are so different. He's big-hearted, he's open, he's understanding, he's strong, and I'm just an old begrudging old dude that's sitting on the side saying, nope, I don't like it. You know why I don't like it? Because they shouldn't be doing it. That's wrong. And he's like, yeah, it's wrong, but what if there's so I think it's the acceptance that makes it special. I mean, he said the story about when we met at the theater company. That was really special. But it was another time I want to mention. It was I don't know if it was before that meeting or after that meeting, but we were at an audition for something. It might have been a commercial or whatever. And it was one of those kind of like cattle calls. So it was like loads of people there. And at the end of the audition, we both kind of got finished at the same time. And we were in New York City. And I felt like we were probably down on like 20-something street. But after this call, we just started talking. And we walked from like 23rd Street to, I want to say, almost like 66th Street, just talking. Wow. And we didn't know each other, but at the end of that, I was like, it was another black dude. It was another guy in the business doing what he does. But I was like, I could actually talk to this dude. Like, and I felt like I could talk to him about anything. And that has been through the course of time. Anything we talk about, I mean, we talk about our children, we talk about our parents, we talk about our dreams, we talk, I mean, openly and honestly. And this, I've only had that kind of relationship with my blood siblings. And so I think it's number one, I would say acceptance. I'm long-winded, as you can tell. I would think it would be acceptance would be one of the main things, and respect. Acceptance and respect that makes it so.
Yes, no, that makes sense. And I heard something you both said in different ways was Marquis used the word mirror and you said another side of me. And so it sounds like you see yourself in each other, right? So maybe can you share a moment where your friendship really kind of got you through a tough time emotionally? And we'll start with Curtis.
Oh my goodness. When hasn't it?
Yeah, right. You can see if you can pick one.
Right. So, I mean, in this business, there's like everybody knows, there's hills and valleys. And and we're men of certain age, right? And sometimes you get to a point where you honestly feel like, when is it possible? Can it happen? And in the course of that, you still have responsibility as a husband and a father that you have to take care of your family. So that pressure even gets heavier on you, right? And my wife is very understanding, but sometimes it's like, maybe because she's not in the business, she doesn't fully understand how hard or how heartfelt and how heavy it is inside, right? And this is before I had a therapist. And so it'll be times where you just wanted to vent about why things weren't happening. And it wasn't as if Marquis would have the answers. He wouldn't be like, well, it's not happening. He'd be like, yeah. And sometimes it would just be why isn't it happening? I don't know. We did this. And then by the end of that, we would have like a little checklist of things. Well, you know what? Let's try this then the next time. Oh, you did that? Okay, I'm gonna try that too. And then it will just move the ball, the piece just a little forward. You know what I mean? Every time. And so I know it could sound trite, right? The business and all of that, but this is my life. This is what I've always done. So when it feels as if you're not making any headway or moving in a certain way, it could feel as if I've failed. I haven't achieved or supported the people that needed to be supported. And to have someone, another black man, a friend, a brother, to say, you know what, hey, it's gonna be all right, bro. Look, it didn't happen. Let's go.
Yeah.
What we gonna do? Let's do something else. It's really important to me. So that's I know that's a small tough time, but that was a sort of a tough time
No, that's huge, because I honestly don't understand how actors and other creators have the emotional resilience to go through the potential rejection and the challenges that you have in your craft. So I take my hat off to you, and I see why that would be so critically important to have somebody you could talk to about it. So, and Marquis, what would you say makes this relationship different than others that you might have?
Curtis mentioned this earlier. This sort of acceptance, this transparency, right? This ability, and so it's interesting. Vulnerability gets a bad rap, right? This idea that being vulnerable, a lot of guys I know sort of shun away from that because there's a negative connotation sort of attached to it. But I think I don't mind being vulnerable, because I think along with being vulnerable comes a bit of discernment, right? Understanding and knowing who you can be vulnerable with. And so for those who are watching who are like, yeah, vulnerable, I can't do vulnerable, I'll just say transparent, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a level of transparency that enables growth in a way where there's accountability, right? It elevates this accountability factor, and then also the way we talk and communicate. There's often an elevation in emotional intelligence, right? That just in our understanding of the way we're doing life, and
Right.
together and in this parallel sort of universe, right? Our children, as I said, are like, in the same age range, off to college, and so we are navigating the very same terrain. And so it is
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic to have someone who you can do that with without all of the noise, all of the stuff, all of the
Mhm.
connotations, right? That people sort of attach to real brotherhood, real friendship, because that's also partnership as well,
Right. Right.
and that's really fantastic.
Yeah. No, I hear you, especially with the transparency, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence. I love that. We're going to put a pin in all of those because I'm going to come right back to you all because I'm going to bring in Dr. Spears into this conversation because
Yeah.
some of those themes you touched on are just right. They're ripe for the picking for his commentary. So I'm going to bring him in. Dr. Kenneth Spears, he's a licensed clinical psychologist. He's a staff psychologist at El Camino College in LA, Los Angeles, California, and also a mental health consultant for the Los Angeles Job Corps Center. So has expertise in talking about how these things pertain to young people. Welcome, Dr. Spears. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Mel.
Absolutely. So let's start off with the big picture. Why are male friendships such an important yet often overlooked component of men's overall well-being?
I think the answer to that is right in the question. I think because they are overlooked, as if we don't believe that we can have this closeness and be vulnerable and be transparent when we actually can. Oftentimes, we're socialized to be very restrained, especially emotionally restrained, to not speak with emotional words and be too intimate, when actually those are the very traits we need to establish meaningful connections with each other.
Makes total sense. And a lot of times, men's friendships often revolve around things like sports or um, you know, games, things like that. How might that affect their ability to form deep, meaningful friendships?
Well, I think it's a great place to start, but at some point you have to go beyond that. It's kind of difficult to be open and to talk about things that are really affecting you in a group environment. So I think that may be a great place to start, going to sporting activities together, engaging in team sports together. But at some point, just as we heard from Curtis and Marcuis, they were in the same spaces a lot of times with other people, that at some point they connected. They were able to start having conversations. And, one of the things that served us in doing this is, at some point, we've hopefully been socialized to create healthy boundaries. So in having these conversations, we realize, we can become closer to who we can become a little bit more transparent with. And that's what we should do, even though we start off with shared activities.
Right. How can we, Marquise talked about vulnerability and transparency and emotional intelligence. I know you do work with a lot of young people. How can you, or how do you help to translate those sorts of skills and social tools into helping young people and boys understand the role of friendship and how to build these kinds of skills?
I spent a number of years working at the Northern California Youth Correctional Center, and I actually started a psychoeducational group centered around vulnerability, because I heard one of the young men say to me one day, when I suggested being vulnerable with a family member, he said, vulnerability will get me killed. And so I had to kind of redefine what I meant by that, and once again, I had to bring up, like, have to know who you can be vulnerable around. But the best way that I have found to demonstrate these to the young people that I'm working with is by kind of modeling that when appropriate. They won't believe it's true until they actually see it. And so in the spaces that I work in, it's often there are opportunities for me engaging with staff members or colleagues when I feel it's appropriate, and I can kind of model that for them so they can understand how that can be beneficial for them.
That makes sense. That modeling, that mentorship, and as Marquis described it, transparency. I think that's also another word that might not be off-putting to some people who might be afraid of the word vulnerability. So I really love that he used that. Yeah. So let's transition a little bit to sort of the health benefits of strong relationships. From a psychological perspective, how do strong male friendships contribute to your mental health?
You know, Dr. Mel, there are several studies that have demonstrated to us that strong friendships protect us in part because they help us deal with stress in an adaptive way. You know, one study found that strong friendships and connecting with individuals who you found supportive, even lowered the way your blood pressure responded to stress. Individuals who have a close friend by them, either literally or figuratively, while they're going through a tough time, have less heart rate reactivity. So we know that poor mental health is a large contributor to morbidity and mortality among Black men. And there's so many barriers that can present themselves when we're trying to access therapy. So social supports and friendships kind of stand in that gap for us.
No, that makes perfect sense. And when you said the word stress, you know, I often talk about the 5 self-health actions, things that we can do for our own self-care: food, water, movement, sleep, and how we manage the stressors in our life being the most important in terms of, you know, chronic diseases, like you mentioned, high blood pressure, diabetes, those kinds of things showing up in our lives. And the role, therefore, that friendship, because it affects stress, as you mentioned, has on all those kinds of chronic diseases showing up. So do you know, is there any correlation with longevity?
Most definitely. Individuals who have strong supportive friendships, and for those who lack them, they found that they're at risk for premature death, just as someone who may be smoking 20 cigarettes a day would be at risk for premature death.
Wow. That is truly profound. I want to bring Marquis and Curtis back because I want to understand a little bit more about how friendship has evolved over time. So I'll ask Marquis first on this one. What have you learned about being a better friend over time as your friendship has evolved? I think we might be having some.
Okay, I think I'm there now. Okay.
All right.
You know, something we both mentioned earlier that you highlighted is how Curtis and I have sort of, our lives have paralleled each other at different points in our friendship. That, you know, it was always helpful and easy to look to him for help through some tough moments. And what that has shown me is how to be a better friend as well, right? How to show up in the same ways, right? For him. And so overall it is I think I've become a better friend, but a better man, a better husband, a better father, You know, my life has definitely been elevated, you know, in our nearly 30-year friendship, because we have been friends this long.
Great. And Curtis, how would you say that your friendship has changed over time?
Yeah, time has changed it. I mean, and I mean that because like the children got older, right? And so different things will come up. Like I'm so many, I'm sorry, so many things just kind of rush through your minds. And when you start to think, when you ask me about our friendship and I go through the years, it's like so much information just kind of comes and I have to kind of stop it and be like, okay, pick something out of there, but it just kind of floods through.
Yeah.
So I'll just say it was, like you said, I have 5 children. My last 2 are twins, a boy and a girl. And at one point, I was having trouble with the disciplining one of my children. And I come from an different era, and and it seemed like nothing I was doing was getting the response that needed to happen. With like what I was doing with my oldest children. This child right here who just walked in, actually, this child right here was a challenge. So because of the years of together and because he has children, like you said, about the same age, I was able to go to him and say, bruh, I am trying all of this stuff. I don't know what else to do right now. And he was able to give me a different way of looking at it and a different way of tackling it. And dare I say, he gave me that and I tried it and it didn't work. But what it did do, what it did do was gave me another perspective on how to deal with certain things. You know what I mean? Because that child is going to be that child. You know what I mean? And I think it was just his aura and his energy, and that's who he is, right? And I just my job became on learning how to love him for being who he is and trying to keep him safe as he grows into manhood and become who he was. So it was the advice I was able to go to Marcuis, and because of the time that we've been together and because of the life that he's led with his children and his brothers and family members, he was able to give that back to me. And I don't know if anyone else readily and as openly I could have gone to someone with, right? And trusted with, and we had seen each other go through it all the years together. So it's like, how do y'all do? And something else too. I remember Marquis used to have this thing, and I tried to incorporate it into my family. He used to have this thing he did with his children where it was like, I thought it was so cool, where you can say what I'm gonna give you this space right here to say whatever you need to say to me and however you need to say to me, say it. So if you need to use profanity, it's okay in this space right here. So I need to hear what you're feeling and how you're dealing with it so that we can address it and make and find a solution. And I was like, that is so cool, because my parents never did that to me. I never did that with my children, but it was something that I wanted to incorporate in my family because I saw it working and it made a difference. I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm gonna leave it there.
No, I think that's great, because it sounds like through the years, as you've encountered different situations, you've been able to sort of leverage Marquis's unique perspective that you might not have had to come up with really practical life solutions.
Most definitely.
Yeah. No, that's great. And so speaking about practical solutions for men who might feel isolated or wish to strengthen their current friendships, what practical advice might you offer from your own friendship to help them get started in that process of either strengthening their current friendships or feeling less isolated? I'll go to you first, Marquis, on that.
Wow. You know, I can't stress this enough, this part. And, you know, experience certainly teaches this quality, but discernment is everything when it comes to friendships. And some people see some people mistake discernment for judgment. And I think we all are guilty of judging for sure, but I think it's okay to judge when you're discerning whether something is good for you or not.
Sure.
Right. And, you know, it's the discernment that helps you to recognize who deserves a front row seat in your life. And sometimes, you know, we elevate people to spaces that don't necessarily belong or deserve to be there. And so I would first, you know, caution young people to not judge, but discern who is in their circle and for what reasons. And then be open, right? Be open to, you know, I used to say, man, I'm too old for new friends. You know what I mean? Like the friends I have are the friends that I'm going to have. But I was closing myself off to opportunities to have great encounters and possibly develop real friendships. And I think, you know, if we remain open, you know, with discernment, we can see those people who are really meant to be, you know, in our lives and to be in relationship with. And so, yeah, so I would say that be, you know, get better at discernment and be open.
What about you, Curtis? Anything to add there?
Yes. I'm just piggybacking on it. And I would, with that, is time too. I mean, the time that you choose to spend with people. So I think you have to make efforts and to say, you know what, I don't know if this brother is cool, but you know what, I'm gonna just ask him if you want to go out for a drink. You know what I mean? Just to sit and talk. And then as you spend more time with that person, it may be easier to discern if they are or not. But you have to put yourself out there to just say, you know what, I don't know, I'm gonna go over there and hang out with him. Maybe he doesn't mind, or to go to the park, to do whatever else. And then during those encounters, you can, you know, begin to once again be open, just start to talk about things, and then you can kind of feel if, you know what, maybe this isn't the right match. But you have to make that step in order to find out if it's going to be or not going to be, though. I think so. Definitely discernment and the openness and the time to get to know something.
And you mentioned that you were a loner, so that means a lot that you have to be intentional about creating friendships and creating the time. I think that's great. And I want to go back to Dr. Spears, because I want to pick up on, you know, that concept of being a loner and loneliness. How would you say that the fact that there's research suggesting that loneliness can be as harmful as smoking or obesity, how do friendships buffer men against those kinds of risks, especially as they age? And I want to pick up on that thread that Marcuis left about, you know, I got all the friendships that I need, you know, I'm shutting it down.
Well, yeah, yes. So we also know that, you know, as we age, men have less friendships and less friendship circles. So it becomes really important to stay open, as he spoke about, to making new friends, being vulnerable, being open, and putting yourself out there. If not, the isolation, you know, can increase negative thinking, critical thinking, overthinking, and all those things can lead to depression and anxiety. And while interventions for mental health can be helpful for that, while you're not connected to your mental health provider, those social supports can be very effective and very helpful.
Yeah, I think Curtis mentioned the importance of, well, he didn't have a therapist at the time, and how that friendship really helped in terms of, you know, having a sounding board and having someone else to talk to. And this is a question for everybody in today's sort of digital world. I'll start with Dr. Spears. How is social media and remote work influencing the way that men connect? And do you think that these platforms are helping or hindering the formation of like real friendships?
I think for some people they can be helpful, and for some they can be hindering. Here's the thing. I think some are more primed to be a little more social and can use the social media in a way where it does not distract from them making real life connections. But there are other individuals whose life circumstances may have them more fearful of rejection. And so they won't try to be as socially connected in real life. And they'll use the platforms, or they'll overuse those platforms to feel connection, and not really getting connected all that they can out of the connection, out of the friendships.
Right. And I know both of you have boys, Curtis and Marquis. How have you sort of helped them navigate social media in terms of helping to give them the tools to be able to form real friendships?
I don't know if I have, to be totally honest.
I was thinking the same thing.
Well, can I say something about the MEL? Sure. What I enjoyed hearing earlier when Curtis and Marquis were talking, and Curtis was speaking about taking the advice from Marquis about how to deal with his son. Mm-hmm. You know, not only was that like sharing of information and support, but in creating a space where your children can say anything they want to, what you're doing is you're also teaching your children how to express themselves. And that is another tool that they're going to be able to use in forming meaningful connections.
Absolutely. So you didn't even know you were doing that, did you?
No, listen, I was just trying to let the steam out the pot. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you can always feel the energy in the house, you know, when it's full of life and other people. And oftentimes you could, you know, I would feel just a degree of tension, you know, and you can connect it to something or another, but it was always important to me to get a sense of what they were thinking about it and feeling about it, or where it started, you know, what the origin of the feelings were. And so, and it really was born out of the one thing as a parent I've always wanted was to have a real open line of communication. Mm-hmm. And that was my way of telling them and showing them that no matter how bad it seems or how rough you think my response might be, there's always a place for us to communicate. And then we can go from there and figure the rest out. And so I found that has really helped.
Yeah, no, and communication is the bedrock of friendship, right? Being able to express yourself and be in touch with your emotions and express those emotions in a constructive way. So I think that's amazing. I just want to close with one question before we get to the audience, because I know they got questions and comments. And this is for Curtis. If your friendship with Marquis was a message to the next generation of young Black men, what would it say?
Yeah, what would it say?
What would it say?
I want to know.
Right.
What's the brand message that it'd be putting out there?
I think the one of the biggest things that is possible, right? I think because of what we have and who we are, dare I say, two successful Black positive men and strong father figures and examples in our community, and not afraid to dap up, you know what I mean? To cry on the phone to each other, to tell some of our darkest secrets to each other and still be cool. I think the message would be that you can have that, and it will make you, and it can make you better. It can strengthen you. It can be a foundation for so much more. So maybe that is possible. Could be the message.
Fantastic. Thank you all. This has just been a wealth of information. I'm going to see what is going on in that chat. Lila and Wayne, if you all can come on back in. So much has been shared, you know, that pertains to our health and how friendships.
Tell us what the people talking about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lila. Lila?
Can you hear me? The people want to know. The people want to know, how do the women in your lives support this friendship?
Good question.
You want me to go? Well, look, they do until we've been on the phone for 4 hours and it's cutting into dinner time or some other plans we may have. Because I tell you, for those who don't know, Curtis is in New York and I'm in LA. And so majority of our communication, particularly now, is over the phone. And so we can lean on the phone for hours, just talking about, for hours, literally. Whether we're collaborating.
We just talk about a peanut at one point, and the next thing we talking about the election and what's going on in Iraq and Iran. It's the scope of all things.
It's so varied, and we're all over the place. But at the end of the conversation, there's always there's some marching orders. You know what I mean? There's okay, here's what we need to do next, whether we explicitly state it or not. There's always something in our conversation that gets accomplished and moves us to the next place. And I gotta say, I think our wives, and I'll say this for Curtis's wife as well. I think our wives have been not just fully supportive, but encouraging.
We ain't talking to them. I was like, whoa, you got that out. Oh my God, I heard all of it. I'm glad you told me that.
But Curtis, to that point, I was gonna flip it and say, Keith, I think you made a really good point. I don't know if you're finished.
Oh.
But the other side of that is, how has your friendship supported your relationship with your spouses?
Great question.
Yeah. I'll let you
that's not a question I can answer, right? She would have to say that. She would have to say how it really has, right? Okay. But I think that wow, yeah.
Chew on it, Curtis.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll jump in there. I think, because naturally, men of a certain age that have children that have been married, double-digit years. Like, we both have been married more than 15 years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so our commitment, not just to our families, but to our wives, to our children, is a thing that we have and hold in common. So we can always. What inevitably happens is we'll realize, oh, you're going through that too? Yeah, I'm kind of dealing with the same thing. And then we talk it out, and it's like, yeah, that actually helped me. I can take this and walk it out in my shoes, And so I think it naturally happens because, again, we've been in parallel universes, walking this journey together.
Okay.
Are you signing off on that, Curtis?
Yeah, that was good. That was good. We're gonna roll with that.
So we have a question for the audience. They ask, does living in a different state impact your friendship, or does it just strengthen the bond of the friendship?
I would say that it strengthens. Because sometimes, when you feel like you can see somebody, and because you're in the city and your proximity is really close, I don't think people do it as often. I think because we are so far, and it's like, oh, I don't know when I'm gonna get to talk to him again. Let me call him and see what he's doing or how he's doing or whatever, because he's so far away. So, prime example of that, Marcuis was just in New York not too long ago doing some business and for a few days. And I was like, I should get down there. I should go see him. I ain't seen, he just got to New York, but I was like, nah, I ain't driving down to the city. I'll call him later. I'm gonna talk to him later. But so I think sometimes when people are close around, you kind of take it for granted. But I think because he is so far away, our conversations get longer and they get more in depth because we don't know if we're gonna be able to talk to him tomorrow or next week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, because we're across the country from each other, the way the world is moving and events are happening, it feels more necessary to just check in with each other around events in the world. You know what I mean? Whether it's bad weather or,
the fires.
Perfect example. You know what I mean? So we find, ourselves really, really checking in, doing a wellness check. That's oftentimes the biggest part of our, as our lead in. You know what I mean? How you doing? Y'all good? And then we go into the next 3 hours on all kind of other stuff. Yeah.
Dr. Spears, you mentioned that when you used to work in, I'll say law enforcement or the judicial system, there was someone who said vulnerability is weakness or felt like weakness. So to that point, there are probably a lot of young men period, who feel socially or culturally that they can't be expressive or vulnerable or soft in their friendships. And I just wanted to come back around to that. You talked about sort of modeling behavior and being a mentor to those young people, but how do older men sort of get out of that if they're stuck in this, I can't be expressive or transparent with my friends?
Yeah, well, hopefully there's someone in their lives who will, push back against that narrative. But if they're not, I find that at some point we begin to look for solutions to our problems. And when the problems become very heavy, we will begin to consider solutions that we never thought that we would before. So I would hope that there are people in their lives, oftentimes the men who I see in my practice or on campus who are struggling in this way, I would say 50% of the time they come is because of a relationship issue. And then we get to understanding what's not connecting in the relationship, because there is a fear of being too emotional, too open, and too vulnerable. We get to go there. But for those, who may not have access, I would say we always have access to something. Yeah. And so I would say, in your support system somewhere, there has got to be at least one person that you feel that you can trust. And to start with that one person.
Wow. So I have a question. Great advice. I have a question, Doctor.
That is a good question.
How do you think that social organizations or fraternities, I know, Curtis, you're a fraternity guy. How do you think they play a role in male bonding or friendships?
Accessibility, strong, going through that whole process of crossing over and sharing so much stuff with another brother who's going to be there to support you no matter what. It means a lot. So the fact that I know at any given time that I have other brothers to call that would definitely do everything in their power to help me get through it is majorly important. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated is one of the best ones, just in case anybody's thinking or asking.
Curtis, don't start it, Curtis.
One of the later ones.
Okay. Well, listen.
My grandfather was a Sigma, so shout out to the Sigmas.
But
I think it's
if
important.
I'm not mistaken, Dr. Mel, your husband is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. But
that's true.
I do remember that.
Dr. Spears is a member of Alpha.
Fraternity
Incorporated.
Shout out to the Alphas.
Come on.
I can shout them all out.
That's why I was just saying, don't start it. I have something I want to ask Marcuis. Since this has been an amazing conversation around male friendships and positivity and, the support of life, really having these kinds of connections. Marcuis, I just want to amplify the positivity that you put into the world. What does your shirt say?
Oh, that's what's up. You know what, Lila? I'm loving you for that. Look at this.
Each one teach one. Love.
You dig?
Yeah.
And I think, listen, this is a principle that I think we should all live by, right?
Yeah.
Whether you are a parent or whether you don't. I say anybody of a certain age is a parent, because we are always sort of mentoring and guiding and nurturing the people that are in our lives, no matter how young or old they may be. And so each one teach one is a principle that I grew up knowing and understanding. This has been embedded in my DNA. And I think it is the way that we change the world. It really is. It's, you know, if you, it's a way to do it in a manageable way, right? Where you don't have to bite off more than you can chew, but you can take small bites, which is to say, if you can reach one person, if each person can reach one person, then you can teach that person, and that creates the change that we all really need to see in the world. And so, you know, so the brand is Vibes and Virtues Unlimited, but each one teach one is the principle, the foundation by which, you know, we're building on it. And it's about really, you know, instilling virtues, good vibes and strong virtues back into the world.
The power of one.
Amen.
So where can they find that?
So I am Marcuis is my handle on IG, and in my handle, in my IG, you can click the link in the bio, and it'll take you straight to the page, and then you can sift through all the various designs and color waves and sizes and choose the one you love. I think there's something there for everybody. Yeah.
Fantastic. And where can the folks find you, Curtis?
On Marquis's IG with the Each One Teach One. All the shirts.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
That's where he'll be.
That's where I'll be. I mean, on Instagram, Curtis Cook. I mean, I try to answer people back on there, but it becomes a little overwhelming sometimes, and I don't want to be mad at folks, but that's probably the easiest way to get in contact with me. Yeah.
All right.
I do want to make a correction. I am Marcuis is my personal IG. Vibes and Virtues Unlimited is the brand, the brand name, and the letter N. The letter N. Vibes and Virtues Unlimited.
All right. And what about you, Dr. Spears?
The best way to reach me is on my website. My practice is Wellness Our Way Psychological Service, and it's wowpsych.com. WOWSYCH.com.
Wow. Come on, Wow Psych. Wellness Our Way.
Wow.
Come on.
All right.
Wow.
I mean, we haven't really, we've talked about the power of friendship, but I do want to make sure that everybody knows one of the things that Curtis said, he didn't have a therapist yet. So, I think it's important that everybody,
he said
everybody get in touch with their mental health. It can be, you don't have to wait till you have a problem. It can be your preventive maintenance. Yes. So commercial out there for thinking about and focusing on your mental health in this Men's Health Month. We thank each of you, Dr. Spears, Marcuis, Curtis. Thank you for giving of your time and your wonderful advice, sharing your stories and your wisdom and your wit. We really appreciate you. Of course, my fantastic co-host, Lila Mays, Wayne Bruce.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Hey, and until I see you, remember, be wise, be well, and be health empowered. Take care.